The bustling Metropolitan Courthouse was busy again on Monday morning. Judge Richard Harrison, a middle-aged white man with graying temples and wire-rimmed glasses, sat behind his elevated bench, methodically working through his docket. His reputation for being strict but fair had earned him respect among his peers, though some whispered about his occasionally harsh sentencing. A well-dressed black woman in her late 50s entered the courtroom, carrying a leather briefcase and maintaining perfect posture. Dr. Eleanor Washington had received a traffic citation for allegedly running a red light, something she firmly believed she hadn't done. Case number 2347, traffic violation, the court clerk announced. Dr. Eleanor Washington. Judge Harrison barely looked up from his papers as Dr. Washington approached the podium. His voice carried the same matter-of-fact tone he'd used all morning. How do you plead to the charge of running a red light on May 15th at the intersection of Broadway and 7th? Not guilty, Your Honor, Dr. Washington replied firmly, her voice carrying the weight of decades of legal expertise. And I'd like to present evidence that contradicts the officer's account. Judge Harrison's eyebrows raised slightly, his expression showing a hint of irritation at what he perceived as another defendant trying to waste the court's time. Ma'am, the officer's report clearly states Your Honor, Dr. Washington interrupted politely but firmly, I believe you'll find that under State Traffic Code Section 375.2, photographic evidence from nearby security cameras is admissible in traffic court. I have obtained footage that shows my vehicle entering the intersection while the light was yellow. The judge's annoyance became more visible. Ms. Washington. That's Dr. Washington, Your Honor, she corrected him calmly. And I believe you're familiar with this statute, as it was covered extensively in my advanced traffic law seminar at Metropolitan Law School, class of 2005, if I remember correctly. The recognition scene marks the pivotal moment in the courtroom where everything changes. As Dr. Washington reveals her true identity, the atmosphere in the courtroom transforms completely. Judge Harrison's face loses all color, creating a striking visual representation of his sudden realization. His hands, which had been confidently shuffling papers moments before, freeze in mid-motion as the weight of the situation hits him. The bustling courtroom, typically filled with whispers and movements, falls into a profound silence, as if everyone present can sense the significance of what's unfolding. In this powerful moment, Judge Harrison's mind floods with vivid memories of his law school days. Professor Eleanor Washington wasn't just any teacher. She had been a formidable presence in the classroom, known throughout Metropolitan Law School for her exceptional legal expertise and unwavering dedication to justice. The judge remembers sitting in her classroom, diligently taking notes, absorbing the very principles of law that he now practices from behind the bench. The irony of the situation becomes painfully clear to him. He's been condescendingly addressing the very person who taught him the foundations of his legal knowledge. The transformation in Judge Harrison's demeanor is immediate and striking. His voice, which had been carrying notes of irritation and dismissal just moments before, softens considerably. The simple words Professor Washington leave his lips with a completely different tone, one filled with respect, recognition, and a hint of embarrassment. His apology for his earlier tone comes naturally, no longer speaking as a judge to a defendant, but as a former student acknowledging his respected teacher. This moment serves as more than just a personal realization. It becomes a powerful reminder about the dangers of assumptions and the importance of treating every person in his courtroom with equal respect and dignity. The recognition scene beautifully captures the human element of justice. It shows how quickly perceptions can change when personal connections are revealed, and how humbling it can be when our biases are exposed. This moment doesn't just change the trajectory of this particular case, it forces Judge Harrison to confront his own prejudices and reconsider how he might have been treating others in his courtroom. The power dynamic shifts dramatically, not through confrontation or conflict, but through a simple revelation that bridges the gap between authority and humanity, creating a moment of genuine connection and understanding that will influence all of Judge Harrison's future interactions from the bench. The resolution scene represents a crucial moment of accountability and transformation in the courtroom. Judge Harrison's throat clearing, A small but significant gesture symbolizes his attempt to compose himself and acknowledge his error in judgment. His voice, now stripped of its earlier authority and replaced with humility, delivers the verdict that reflects the truth he should have been open to seeing from the beginning. The declaration of not guilty carries extra weight because it's not just about a traffic violation anymore. It's an admission that his initial presumptions were wrong on multiple levels. The judge's acknowledgement of Dr. Washington's evidence demonstrates a complete reversal from his earlier dismissive attitude. His statement that the evidence clearly shows that Dr. Washington's vehicle entered the intersection legally is particularly meaningful because it validates not just her innocence, but her competence and credibility that he had initially questioned. This moment serves as a public recognition of her expertise and integrity, making it clear to everyone in the courtroom that she deserved respect from the very beginning. What makes this resolution especially powerful is Judge Harrison's attempt to reconnect with Dr. Washington through his question about her teaching, by asking if she's still teaching that course on traffic law. He's doing more than making conversation. He's acknowledging their shared history and her continuing expertise in the field. This question serves as both an olive branch and a subtle admission that he could still learn from her, even now that he's a judge. It's a moment that transforms what could have been a purely embarrassing situation into an opportunity for growth and reconciliation. Dr. Washington's response about adding a section on implicit bias in traffic stops and judicial proceedings is masterfully delivered. Her invitation for him to guest lecture is both gracious and gently pointed. It's a teaching moment wrapped in professional courtesy. The fact that this exchange prompts muffled chuckles from the courtroom audience suggests that others present recognize the elegant way she's handled the situation, turning what could have been a confrontational moment into one of potential learning and growth. Judge Harrison's response that he might learn more as a student again shows his willingness to embrace this lesson in humility, making the resolution not just about this single case, but about ongoing personal and professional development. The final words, case dismissed, carry a double meaning. Yes, the traffic violation is dismissed, but so too are the prejudices and assumptions that led to this confrontation in the first place. This resolution deftly balances justice being served in the immediate case with the larger justice of addressing systemic biases in the legal system, all while maintaining the professional dignity of everyone involved. As the courtroom cleared, Judge Harrison stepped down from the bench and approached his former professor. Dr. Washington, I owe you an apology. I made assumptions today that were unworthy of the principles you taught me. Dr. Washington nodded thoughtfully. Richard, do you remember what I always said about justice? That it must not only be blind, but also self-aware, he quoted. Exactly, she replied. We all carry our biases, but what matters is recognizing them and ensuring they don't cloud our judgment. Perhaps this can be a learning moment for both of us. The judge nodded, knowing that this encounter would forever change how he approached his duties. As Dr. Washington left the courthouse, she smiled, knowing that sometimes the best lessons are taught outside the classroom.